As a career coach, I often get asked, what are the best majors? What are the worst majors? I've got my take on this. But first, I want to see what's out there. What are students being told about the worst and the best majors? Let's get into it. Okay, we're going to start with top 10 degrees that keep you poor forever.
Every time I make a video about college degrees, especially the bad ones, people get really triggered. But you know what's more triggering than hearing the truth? Being $300,000 in student loan debt with no job prospects.
Okay, nobody wants to be $300,000 in student loan debt without a plan. So I'm glad we're talking about this. I'm interested to see who he says will get triggered. We're not going to get triggered, folks. Maybe we'll trigger other people. Let's find out.
Realistically speaking, I was never going to be athletic enough to actually make money from it, but maybe I would have gotten, a free college degree. And I was really passionate about video games, but I wasn't going to make money doing that. But you know what I did instead? I looked at where the opportunity was at the time. And that's how I ended up in pharmacy school. And at that time, that was a pretty good choice. But luckily for you, now there are way better choices out there. And the harsh truth is that your passion means nothing if it doesn't pay the bills. Success isn't about following your dreams blindly. It's about being smart, adaptable, and willing to pivot when opportunities present themselves.
Okay, I see where he's coming from now. This is a successful YouTuber with 1.27 million subscribers, anticipating where's the hate or the resistance going to come from. Probably a smart way to do a video. And he's saying that people want to follow their passion. They don't want to just follow the money. And this video is about what degree gets you what amount of money. The fact is that you need to balance a few different factors. Not just money, not just passion. Think about these three factors. What the world needs. This is going to be the most closely related to money. Second, what you like. You can think about this as your passion. And third, what you're good at, your strengths. If you look at your career from only one of those three lenses, you're going to be limited. What you're actually looking for is a Venn diagram balancing those three different things. So that's ultimately how you'll get to pick a major, is that you know that it includes those three elements.
But the first one on the list, number 10, is going to be restaurant management. So there's only about 70,000 restaurant manager jobs nationwide, and none of them care about your degree. I mean, they couldn't care less.
I've never heard about a restaurant manager degree, and it's my job to know about degrees. So I feel like, am I missing out on something? It turns out maybe not.
Your 100K degree gets you access to jobs that you could have gotten by working your way up from the dishwasher position. And most of these jobs are in cities where the pay of about $58,000 a year isn't going to be very good. Now, let's see what you're signing up for. Assistant restaurant managers make about $46,000 to $68,000 a year, and you get yelled at by both customers and employees. Food service managers make about $46,000 to $71,000 a year, which is kind of like professionally asking why the fish delivery is late. And kitchen managers make $41,000 to $59,000 a year, explaining to line cooks why they can't have Saturday off. So yeah, it's a headache.
There's a key piece of advice he added here right at the beginning. Did you catch it? You could work your way up to that role without a degree. This emphasizes the role of practical experience. And it's useful to compare what's the value of practical experience versus getting a degree. Why is that useful? Well, in one of those situations, you pay to learn, and the other one, you're paid to learn. Did you hear that? When you work in a restaurant, work your way up, you're paid to learn. And when you take a degree that's theoretical, not while you're working, you are paying to learn. Sometimes one is better than the other.
Next one is going to be photography.
The first thing I'd wonder before doing a degree in photography is, what have other major photographers done to learn their craft? Again, did they practice, try it, get a job, an internship, get a mentor, or did they get a degree? It's useful to compare. What are you going to get out of each one? And how much does each one cost?
You're literally paying tuition to learn what millions of Instagram influencers figured out for free. There is unlimited classes, and they're really good classes, by the way, as well as YouTube channels that will teach you how to do photography. And guess where most of the photography gigs are, the ones that actually pay well? They're gonna be in super expensive cities like New York and LA, where your $37,000 starting salary won't even cover a studio apartment and ramen for your meals. So yeah, this one is gonna keep you poor. Let's move on to the next one.
If you follow me before, you know I like to flip the model when it comes to careers. Think about it through the lens of a photographer, okay? The lens, wow, that was a pun. That's not a good pun. You want to think about the problem you want to solve first. I want to take pictures is not a problem to solve. I'll give you an example. Some great photographers tell the unique story of those who don't have a voice. That's an inspiring challenge to solve. Once you figure out the challenge you want to solve with photography, work backwards. What companies are doing that now, telling the stories of those who don't have a voice? You can find them online. There's inspiring work being done here. Then keep working backwards. Challenge companies, people, the photographers there, the people. What are their job titles? And then work backwards. What did they have to learn to be able to do that? Do they have a formal photography degree? Or do they have a degree in marketing, communications, storytelling? Or did they learn practically through experience? When you flip the model, you understand the actual path that photographers took to get there. And that might make you question the value of the degree, just like this gentleman is doing, or double down on the value of the degree if every single person you admire went through this route.
And this one is going to really make some people mad, and that is biology. Now, check this out. There's only about 22,000 biology degrees nationwide, and this is actually one of the most common degrees that people get. In fact, it's the #1 most common science-related degree. So you basically have 100 people fighting for a single seat. And in most of those cases, a bachelor's degree ain't going to be enough. So here's a lab coat career option, a research assistant. They make about $42,000 to $64,000 a year. Again, typically this person is going to need a master's or a doctorate. And then another one is a quality control analyst. And in this one, you get paid to stare at petri dishes all day. And again, most of the time, it's going to require a master's degree or even a doctorate. Not worth it, guys.
Out of context, this is a wild take. Top 10 degrees that keep you poor forever, biology. Okay, a biology could lead you to biotechnology. It could lead you to working in a lab. It could lead you to being a doctor. There are so many successful people that have a degree in biology. That being said, I'm not throwing out his advice right away. Why? Because he's listing the starting salary of someone with a degree in biology that's maybe not doing a great job. If you're doing biology, understand what the degree's for. What job could it get you? What impact do you want to have on the world? Where can you work? These are worth thinking about as you're starting your biology degree, not after you're finished. So think critically about where you want the biology degree to take you. You might need to do a graduate degree immediately afterwards. So knowing that ahead of time will help you plan.
Next one is communications, and brace yourself. Most of the actual jobs in communication are going to be in expensive cities as well. We're talking PR managers and that type of thing. And the funniest thing is you don't even need the degree to get started. And communications is such a general degree. It's kind of like a thinking degree or something like that. Like it's so general that it's basically useless.
The degree is so general, it's basically useless. Can't agree with that. There's a lot of liberal arts students that become CEOs. They've done a liberal arts degree that's general. It's not useless because it's general. Just because you don't know what to do with a general degree doesn't make it useless.
Your future job titles might include, if you're lucky, public relations coordinator, about $45,000 to $65,000 a year, which is basically a professional email apologizer. A social media coordinator, it's about $40,000 to $60,000 a year, and you get paid to do what teenagers do for free. Or a marketing assistant, which is $41,000 to $61,000 a year, which is basically a PowerPoint presentation specialist if you get a job in communications.
Okay, there's a problem here I'm seeing with the analysis. It makes the world of work seem very linear. Biology, biologist, communications, PR manager. It's like every undergraduate degree is linked with 6 or 7 specific job title outcomes. Unfortunately, that's not the way the world of work works. I know that for analysis purposes, maybe the Bureau of Labor Statistics makes these connections between degrees. In reality, the connections are much more diverse. The biology degree that we talked about can lead to so many different outcomes, as long as you know how to get there.
Number 6 on the list is psychology.
Psychology, you're in trouble. And he knew he was going to be in trouble. I studied psychology. Of course, I'm going to be biased here. An undergraduate degree in psychology, of course, is very general. It could lead you to great outcomes, though. A clinical psychologist, probably a great job, makes a lot of good money. I studied industrial organizational psychology in my graduate degree, one of the best paying jobs in the field of psychology. So it can be a jumping off point to a lot of great things. Now, it feels like this YouTuber thinks that general jumping off points aren't good investments of money. Maybe if you treat it as a terminal degree, terminal meaning not you're going to die, terminal in the sense of it will directly lead you to like somewhere amazing, somewhere special where you make $100,000. That's not how higher education works. Not everything is nursing, engineer. There's much more diversity for you to discover. And you learn that diversity once you flip the model and actually study how the world of work works. The world of work is not driven by job titles. That's the problem with this analysis, is it looks like, okay, let me analyze the market through the lens of job titles and how much they're paid. The world of work works through challenges to solve and opportunities to take advantage of. From that, some people decide, let me start a company to solve those problems. Let me figure out who can help me. And they need a bunch of different people from a bunch of different fields to help them. So it's a lot messier than this very linear analysis of degree and job.
And I know I always get a lot of angry comments for including psychology. I don't have any problem with psychologists. I think that, them helping people with their mental health is great, but I do know that the numbers don't really make sense. There's 123,000 psychology jobs total nationwide.
There are 120,000 psychology jobs. What does that mean? There's, they have psychology in the title, or they're directly related to psychology degrees. There's way more people than that, millions of people that likely have some psychology studies that's helping them do better at whatever other job that they do. Some of it's very connected to psychology, some of it's loosely connected to psychology, but it's helping them.
And check out this post from a 23-year-old psych grad living the nightmare that I am talking about. 5 years after graduation, she's still working as a secretary at a construction company. And her dream of becoming a teen therapist is not even close to happening. And that's not an isolated case. That happens all the time. In fact, that's the rule, not the exception.
By the way, I really like the research that he did when it comes to getting student stories and finding stories on Reddit. Good investigative journalism here. I just don't like the analysis that he did from the labor market side.
Or you could become an HR assistant. They make about $44,000 to $62,000 a year, and you're the person sending those remember to clean the break room emails. And by the way, you don't need to get a psychology degree to get into HR.
A lot of this is funny, by the way. Like, he's criticizing jobs, your entry-level job. Like, what are you actually doing? You're a PowerPoint slide creator. That's funny. It's like looking at the worst case scenario in a job, which actually makes sense. You want to know, what is the worst case scenario in my job? And he probably did some research, or he's a really smart guy to have figured that out. But even in these jobs that don't seem good at first, they're stepping stones that will allow you to do something even greater in your next job.
The next one on the list is very similar, and that's sociology or anthropology. And you're not going to believe this, but only 6,000 combined jobs nationwide. 5,000 for sociology and 1,000 for anthropology. And there's still a lot of people graduating with these degrees. Not as much as psychology, but still a lot. Now, some of the jobs you might get into is a social services coordinator, $49,000 to $70,000 a year. And that's kind of like a professional grant writer, application writer. Then there's a research assistant, $50,000 to $73,000 a year, which, by the way, is probably going to require a master's or even a doctorate. And this is basically you studying why you can't find a job. And then there's a community outreach coordinator. They make about $48,000 to $72,000 a year. And you get to make PowerPoints about making a difference instead of actually making a difference. So yeah, not worth it.
The sociology example is interesting because it shows you a few different jobs here. Social services coordinator. I could actually use a psychology degree for that, or a communications degree as well. And then the next one that he shares is social science research assistant. You could do a lot of different degrees to get there as well, not just sociology or anthropology, as you suggest. And lastly, community outreach coordinator. You could do a marketing degree for that. So right away, you can see that it breaks down this analysis of this degree leads to this job.
Number 4 on the list is art history. Now, hold on to your berets. There are only 3,000 jobs nationwide here. That's it. That's the whole job market. Most of these jobs are in super expensive cities like New York City and LA, where your $35K or whatever it is starting salary means choosing between food and rent each month. And as one art history graduate lamented, the reality is there are literally 0 jobs out there in this field.
Here's another example of the value that these stories that he found add. This student says, I was led to believe that there were actual jobs out there, museums, auction houses, galleries, et cetera, et cetera. As you know, the jobs don't exist. This makes me think of a website on universities' web pages that say, with this degree, you can get this type of job. But there's no labor market analysis. You're not even sure if that exists. That's why you do this research about career options before you start your degree, not when you finish. You could actually go out there and find which museums, who actually works there, what were their career stories or trajectories. Can actually email them and talk to them. You can, by the way. You could talk to professionals. You do all this work while you're starting your degree, during your degree, not at the very end when you realize, wow, this is not at all what I expected.
Next is going to be a liberal arts / general studies major. So get ready for the math here. Only 5,000 combined jobs nationwide. We're talking like 3,000 liberal arts related jobs and 2,000 general studies jobs.
This is difficult. Analyzing a liberal arts degree and matching it to 5,000 jobs. This is how labor market analysts approach this question, but that's not how liberal arts work. There's not 5,000 liberal arts jobs in the US or in North America or in the world. Liberal arts helps you think, helps you create, analyze. and it can give you a ton of advantages. And you hear stories of founders of companies that credit their insights into how to look differently at the world because of liberal arts. I'm not saying liberal arts is just for rich people that don't need to have ROI on their degree. That's not the way to look at it. But I want to tell you that liberal arts can apply to many different things. Now, knowing what those different things are, what those paths can be, it's advisable to do that, during or before your liberal arts degree, not at the very end, realizing that I can't be a liberal artist as a job title.
And by the way, when I say these jobs, like a lot of them you don't actually need the degrees for. It's just the types of jobs you generally tend to go into with a degree. So it's actually worse than 5,000 combined jobs because you're competing with people who got all kinds of different degrees.
And it's perfectly understandable given his background of pharmacy, yes, that he believes. That's a linear pathway, right? You study a science, you get the graduate degree that's related to your science degree. You wanted to go to a pharmacy, be a pharmacist. The career path that he went through is a linear career path. That does represent a part of higher ed. It's not the only pathway for higher ed. It's not the only value that higher ed gives you. There's a lot more to be discovered.
And the crazy thing is these two degrees actually count for a staggering 2% of the country's total student loan debt. And the jobs that you could apply for, program coordinator, coordinating programs nobody asked for. Again, you probably don't need a degree, or if you do need one, they don't care what the degree is. All right.
A general studies degree is trickier than liberal arts. Sometimes it can encompass students who say, I have no idea what I want to do. Let me just study stuff for a year or two. It can be a great approach for some to float around and get a taste, an experience in several different things at the same time, and then make a more purposeful choice. Obviously, that's not always the case. Sometimes you keep floundering, and just graduating with a general studies degree might not get you to where you want to go, obviously.
Number 2 is gender studies. And I know you're surprised. It's not number 1. There's a new number 1 on this year's list, believe it or not. Gender studies is literally a meme. That's how useless it is.
A bit harsh to say gender studies is useless. Are we tackling as a society important questions about gender? Yes. Is the best way to do that through a 4-year undergraduate degree? I don't know. Who I would ask? I wouldn't ask, labor market analysis. I'd find out, well, how are important people that I respect and admire tackling questions about gender? Where are they working? What are their job titles? And what did they learn to be able to do that? Did they learn it through school, through books, through conferences? I think this has some value to society, but it's up to you to decide if a formal 4-year undergraduate degree is the way you want to tackle those big questions.
And let's talk about numbers. Just 1,000 jobs in the entire country and dropping. And you could fit every available job in a medium-sized high school gym. While they may leverage some transferable skills, the degree itself doesn't seem to open up a wide array of specialized, high-earning job prospects. In fact, one commenter sarcastically noted that gender studies majors can get any job that you can get without a gender studies degree, with limited job opportunities and modest starting salaries. Even in major metropolitan areas, it's a degree that could keep you poor forever. Anyways, number 1 on the list, guys, is pop culture studies.
Degree number 1, pop culture studies. Okay, fine. You've got me with that one. I don't know. I can't think of the value right away, but because my mind's coming to a blank, my first reflex is not to say useless degree. My first reflex is to say, okay, if I met someone who did pop culture studies and loved it and was successful, which there's someone out there like that, by the way, what would I ask them if I met them at a party on Saturday night? What would I want to know about their story? I'm curious. I'm not saying, okay, that's a reason if this one person was successful that everyone should go out and get this degree, but it makes me curious. What's the value? What's the story they're telling? How does it connect with the problems that they're solving at work? I have a stance of curiosity.
There are a grand total of 17 jobs available. Oh, but don't worry. Pop culture studies are undeniably fascinating. You'll get to learn all about how Sesame Street shaped our attitudes on diversity, and who could forget the Kardashians, those visionaries who truly redefined fame for an entire generation. But look, let's be real here. Understanding culture is great and all. It's interesting. It's not exactly a skill that employers are clamoring for. And a pop culture career path, like a content content writer, for instance, you can make about $43,000 to $72,000 a year, but you're basically a professional BuzzFeed quiz creator where you're going to be helping people figure out what shade of Kylie Jenner's lipstick looks the best on them. And you don't need a degree at all in most cases, or if you do need a degree, it's definitely not this one, to get the job.
That's why this guy is helpful. He wants to save people from career pain. You know, I've disagreed with several of the points, the analysis, the approach that he made, but this is someone who wants to help people save money, make money, avoid degrees without putting too much thought into them. He found stories. He had some analysis in there. So kudos to him. I hope this video helped a lot of people along the way to think about, well, what can this degree get me? Because that's a useful question.
So yeah, there you have it. 10 degrees that keep you poor forever. This video was very painful to make. I know I might have hurt some feelings out there, but you know what hurts more? Spending the next 30 years of your life paying off a degree that's absolutely worthless. And the truth is, college itself isn't evil. Just the student loan system in the United States and just how the system is set up, like the education system in general, that's what's really evil.
Overall, this YouTuber did a lot of work for a lot of people. He analyzed labor market trends. He found job titles. He helped people think critically. What will this degree get me? He got stories of people who weren't successful with certain degrees. He had memes. He made us laugh. This is someone who wants to help. He doesn't want to see people waste 30 years of their career, be in debt, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. So this is someone who's going to help a lot of people. You've heard me push back on several key ideas. Number one, that degrees and jobs are connected in a linear way. Biology, biologist, pharmacy, pharmacist. That's one part of the higher ed market, of the job market. But in the real world of work, it takes an interdisciplinary approach to solve a problem. You're going to see liberal arts degrees connected with CEOs of tech companies, and there's all sorts of weird and funny connections. So if you limit your analysis to labor market statistics that make these linear connections, you're missing out on how companies actually work. You've got to think about it in a much broader way. You have to think about the impact you want to have on the world, the problems you want to solve, and then actually research companies that are doing that. And you can do this on LinkedIn, on Google, using generative AI like ChatGPT, and then find out who works there. This is listed to you for free in most cases on LinkedIn. When you click on the people that work there, they'll show you what they learned. They'll show you their degrees so you can get proof. Is this a useful degree? How many people did this? What's that person's story? By actually speaking to people in the field, you'll find out how useless or useful a degree is. But before you do all that, just checking out this video, it made you laugh, it helped you think critically, and it helped you think about your future. So I think you won already. If you like a different way of looking at career, subscribe to my channel. You're going to get a different take, a much deeper take based on what it actually takes to be successful in the real world of work. And then you can work backwards to make better decisions about your education, your path, and your future. See you in the next video. Bye.